Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show how to paint the velvet texture on antlers, and I'm going to demonstrate that on this recent mousse painting that I've created. So step one is to actually get a base foundation and the indication of the lighting, the way that that light source is hitting the antlers, in place. Now, because we've got various points of the antlers, it could be that a highlight on one point is then bouncing that light onto another point of that antler and creating a highlight on both sides. So this is going to be very individual to each reference photo, but it's so important to study that closely. And I'm not worried at all about mixing the exact colours at this stage. Later on in this video, I will work with glazes and simplify that colour process. But here, this is all about the values. When I'm working on building in a good base foundation, my priority first of all is just simply to cover the background colour. I'm not worrying about brush technique. I'm working with a fairly easy approach in terms of how thick the layer needs to be. This isn't a very opaque layer. Because I have added a little bit of water to this mix, it is going to have a degree of transparency to it, which is why I like to work with multiple layers for my base foundation. Once this first stage has dried, I will basically repeat this until I've got the desired softness that I want and all of that background colour is covered. When I'm working with this, I'm always paying attention to that lighting that I've mentioned a moment ago, but I don't want to be jumping to those brightest highlights. So as I'm starting here to refine my lights and my darks, you'll see that this mix starts to look lighter, but that is just because I'm repeating what's already there. So it's not going over the top of that darker green background. It's going on top of that slightly lighter greyish purple and reinforcing that value. Now, of course, if I did add more white to this mix, that would become more opaque and it would certainly cover up that layer far quicker, but then that mixture is going to be too bright. So it's really important to get this right. Avoiding that temptation of adding in those bright highlights too soon, and certainly not adding in any detail at the moment, is that top priority. Once I've created a good base foundation, there is no greenery of that background colour showing through. I've hinted at those lights and the darks. Then I can start to add another lighter layer, but again, not my brightest highlight. But now I'm starting to use more softening techniques. So you'll see that once I add the paint, I then want to soften that into the layers underneath so that I've got this slightly curved lighting around each point of the antler. But I can't stress enough that the amount of softness and blending techniques that we use, it's going to be very subjective to each individual reference photo. If the lighting is more harsh and more direct, then those edges are going to be a little bit more rigid in appearance. They're not going to have as much of that gradual transition from light to dark. But when painting velvet texture like this, there will have more degree of these softness within these transitions because of that slightly fuzzier look to the antler. Once I've indicated at the light source and I've got the right softness in place, then I can start to indicate at more of this velvet texture. At this point, I'm using a small round brush and then I'll transition over to a rigger brush. This rigger brush is going to allow me to then create the impression of tinier little lines, but I'm then still going to soften them out. I'm using a makeup brush to do this because I don't want to overblend. However, if I end up with a selection of brushstrokes that look like individual lines, then it's going to have more of an impression of fur, which obviously I want to avoid. So this is why I still want to soften my brushstrokes, but there is a real difference here between the softening and the blending of that base foundation. These techniques do have to look different. When I start to work with more layers with the same sets of brushes, I'll use less of my softening techniques and allow more of that velvety texture with that indication of those brush strokes more visible. But as mentioned all the way through this video so far, it's a gradual process of many layers. I never work with just one base layer, nor do I work with just one layer of detail. As I'm working with building in these layers, I yet haven't worked with any glazes to adjust the colour. This almost looks a little bit more like a grayscale painting at the moment. Once these details are dry, then I can work with a glaze to adjust the colour. But this method, it really does help simplify the layering process. If you are an artist who gets quite stressed about trying to mix the exact colour and the lightness or darkness of that colour, combined with how we should be using that brush and the layers, then working with glazes is a wonderful way of stripping back that layering process and making it all so much easier. For my very first glaze on the antlers here, I've simply just added a combination of red and blue. More blue in this because I wanted it to be a little bit cooler. And this is going to give me my generalised base foundation colour. So I'm not being cautious about where I'm putting this. It's going over some areas of highlights and the shadows. But if there is an area of the points of an antler where they might have a warmer colour, then I'm going to leave that area with just the highlights at the moment. As you can see, some of those edges are still quite white. And then I can add some red or a brown, something to that mix to adjust the colour in those warmer sections. Because this reference photo had a beautiful variation of warm and cool colours that I was really keen to capture. There might be areas where it needs to be a little bit more blue, so I can add in more ultramarine blue, such as here, and again create as much depth as I possibly can. When I'm just working with a glaze to tint that colour, so I don't want a huge amount of colour adjustment, I will add more water to my glaze mix. If I needed to have a bolder colour, more impact, more vibrancy, then I can work with a slightly thicker glaze and have less water in that mix. But it's really important that the consistency of that glaze is correct, because it's all with that view of still allowing the layers of detail to show through. If that glaze colour covers up all of the details, all of the layers underneath, it's not transparent enough and it's therefore not a glaze. So this is something here to pay very close attention to. I do have a video here on YouTube where I'm speaking all about how I use glazes with various different paintings, showing how the glaze can be altered depending on what we want to be creating. If that video is of interest, I'll link that in the description below. At this point, I was almost ready to start working on the other side, but I did want to enhance that velvet texture even more. So with my rigger brush, I've come back with an even lighter mixture, and this is where I'm going to boost not only the texture, but my contrast. Contrast is very, very important when aiming for a high level of realism. We want to be having a variation of lots of different highlights, midtones and shadows. So it's not just about having one value of brightness, one midtone, one shadow. You'll see that I've got a lot of different variations here. As I'm starting to then boost the light source, I'm working with shorter movements on my brush. In some cases, only the tip of the brush is in contact. And this just means then that I'm less likely to create the impression of fur and keep with this velvet texture. As I'm starting to build my layers more so, I also need to make sure that these highlights don't end up covering too much of my darker base foundation. When working on small areas, this is a common mistake, and it just, in some cases, is just we've added too much detail in that area. So if that happens, I would recommend to take your darker colours, put in a bit more of your base foundation again. You can do this with glazes if that's possible, and then work with those midtones and the texture, the details again, with that awareness of then stopping before you start adding too much. But because acrylics are incredibly versatile, they dry quickly, we can fix these kinds of mistakes so easily. If you do have any issues with working with acrylics, or you have created an issue or a mistake that you're not quite sure how to fix, do let me know in the comments, because I'm always happy to help if I can. When I work on the other side of the painting, regardless if it's antlers, ears, eyes, whatever it may be, I'm always closely observing any differences in the lighting in my reference photo. So with something like this, it might be tempting to transfer the same sorts of highlights that are on the left side and almost do a mirror image over to the right. The problem with that is because each side of the antler here, especially with that almost a bit of a side tilt of the head, it is going to show a different shaping and structure to the antler on this side compared to the other. If I copy the light source in exactly the same way, it might not match this different angle. So it's really important that each side, individual points on either side of the antlers, are closely monitored in the reference photo. At this stage of the painting, I haven't obviously finished the ear on this side either, but I have worked with the similar approach, working with my dark layers, building in my midtones and then my highlights, refining the detail as I go. But one thing that I do each time when I work with areas that are behind an element is if I know that a detail is overlapping, I will always leave that until the latest part of the process. So I'm not going to add lots of detail into the edge of the antler if the ear that's behind isn't done, because then I'm going to potentially run into issues with those details getting in the way. So at this point in the process, everything is about the same level. So the details are being established. I haven't yet worked with any kinds of colour adjustment. This isn't so important. But once I know that I've got this phase of the detail painted, I will then go back and work on the ear, get that finished, and then add my last layers to the antler. This makes the process much easier. It can simplify it massively. One of the issues that causes more stress is if we try to paint everything in that area at the same time, but they are clearly on different levels. Those details can sometimes get so lost and merged together that the painting loses some of that shaping and depth. So when there are clear differences between one element and the other, it's really important to separate that process. Don't even consider the antler if the ear isn't finished when you're working with those top layers of detail. And at what point to finish one area to the next, it's going to be your personal preference. There are lots of artists that like to work with whole individual layers at a time. I don't personally like to work like that. I find it far more stressful. But you could certainly have painted this ear from start to finish and only then worked on the antler once you knew the ear was done. That would simplify even that thought process. You wouldn't have to worry about the details on the antler if you knew that the ear had already been finished in advance. Technically as well, this stage of the painting, in terms of the detail and my lighting, I could have called this finished. So I could have adjusted the ear colour, get that done, and then worked with these top layers that I'm currently adding now to the antler. However, I knew that I wanted to push this velvet texture even further. So I'm still working with what looks like to be a grayscale painting on this side. Once I've then got it where I feel I need it to be, then I can move on to this process. That very final highlight to the edge of the ear has helped to bring that in front of that background even further, giving that the right separation it needs. Even just a little highlight like that can bring that subject into the front of that painting, push that background back, and instantly create more dimension. When adding the glazes here, you'll see that it also does help to give that velvet texture yet again, because it is softening the details. They were a little bit too light, but that was intentional because I knew I was going to be adding these glazed colours over the top, and these current colours are more of a mid-tone. They are going to darken those layers of detail. So with that in mind, I knew I therefore had to make that detailed layer slightly brighter in order for the layer to cope with this glaze. It's crucial to notice the difference now at this point between the left side of the antler and the right in terms of the colour. It might be that one side of the antler is warmer, maybe the left side of the antler is cooler. So having this visualization of both antlers now when you're working on your later stages can help to understand the differences, the lighting, the colour. It needs to be something here that we're now pulling everything into this painting as a whole. And it is at this stage where I'm now giving that separation, adding in these highlights in front of the ear to the edge of the antler to bring the antlers forward, and that sets that ear back even more. adjusting the contrast at this point, but being very careful that I don't start to get a bit lazy with my brush technique and make those brush strokes too long. So once I had finished with the mousse, I then did feel I need to adjust the background a little bit. I try to avoid this where possible once the subject is painted, because as you can see here, I'm having to then remove parts of the background that I'm blending over the subject. This is inevitable. When you're working with the background adjustment, it is going to blend over the subject. But as long as you take a clean, damp brush and the area of the subject has completely dried, you can use that damp brush like an eraser. But you do have to make sure that you use that damp brush whilst that layer of the background that has been blended over your subject is still wet. So I do hope this video has been useful. If it was, I'd be really grateful if you could give it a thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I do also upload a couple of videos to YouTube every week, so if you would like to get notified of that content, then don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell button. If you do have any art related questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'm always happy to help if I can. And if you would like to paint along to the real-time version of this mousse painting, then I'll link all of the information to that in the description below. I am going to be uploading another video next week, but as always, thank you so much for watching.